This week on The Nest, I will be talking with Kennesaw State women's soccer players Macy Rainwater, number 27, who is a senior forward, and Tiana Rivera, who is also a senior forward, number 33. Both of them had phenomenal seasons, and I want to discuss their 2024 season as their first season in Conference USA and what worked and what didn't work in their time in this new conference. We will also have a perspective and point of view from Madison Cruz, who works alongside Soccer Down Here Network, along with commentating on ESPN Plus broadcast. She's very knowledgeable in what she knows about technical plays and aspects of the game that we will be discussing with Tiana and Macy. My name is Caroline Harris, and this episode is interesting, so stay tuned.
We are going to be talking about y'all's 2024 season, the Owls of the women's soccer team. You guys had a great first season in Conference USA, had some ups and downs, but that comes with, entering a new conference. So we just kind of want to hear from your thoughts. We have Madison Cruz here from the SDH Network, who has been on the call for a lot of the ESPN Plus shows this season, and she's kind of got that perspective and point of view for how you guys played from a technical aspect. So I think she'll have a few questions too. So just to start off, I guess moving into this new conference of Conference USA, what was the most challenging part of the environment and just the games that you played in opponents?
I think for me, and Tiana might agree with this one, it's kind of weird going into, especially for us, we had been playing kind of the same schedule, the same teams in the ASUN for so long that even though it was a new year, you still knew a little bit what to expect, a little bit going into every game. You had that comfort of, okay, we've played, there's a few players here and there, but we've played this team before. We know what they like to do, and we can kind of strategize around that. Whereas it was nice to have Coach Chris, who'd been in Conference USA with Middle Tennessee for a while, but for us, it was every game was a complete new starting block for us. So I feel like that was one thing that was super, super interesting going into a new season. At the end of the day, soccer, and if you play good soccer, you're going to be fine. But it was definitely different this year than, for the freshmen and newcomers, it wasn't as different. But for us that have been here for a few years, it was weird that, we're not playing Lipscomb and Jacksonville and all these people that we've played for so many years that we kind of know what to expect. It was kind of like every game was like that non-conference. You're kind of just throwing cool people on the schedule and you don't know what to expect. It was like that all year. So that was a big change, I would say, for me.
Mm-hmm. I would agree with her. I also think with going to Conference USA, like, it's so unpredictable. Like, every week the rankings are changing so much. Like, I feel like with the ASUN, we knew who the top teams were every single year. And with Conference USA, like for example, like the preseason rankings, like they did not have FIU going to be an undefeated team. So like going into the season, like seeing that they're undefeated, like it just changed every week. So like going into every game, like you're unsure what the final score is going to be because you can't underestimate anyone in that conference. So I think that was a big thing for us too.
Yeah.
I love that. How do you guys feel that the ASUN conference and those games prepared you for Conference USA? Because it is a step up, theoretically. Good question. I feel like, I don't know, maybe like ASUN I feel like was physical, like versus like Lipscomb and all that stuff. So like going to Conference USA, like we're used to playing physical. Like Kennesaw is like kind of known to be like a more physical team. So like I feel like they prepared us physically, so we weren't like pushed around in this new conference. And I feel like we were underdogs, like we were ranked last, like, but we came into every game like prepared to like physically go against everyone, even though like the scores didn't really show much. Like we were kind of prepared in that aspect.
I would say in the ASUN, at least the years that I was here, we had always done well enough to enter the conference tournament. And Conference USA, kind of like she was talking about before, how the rankings would change every week. Every game was like a playoff game. So I would say like the ASUN conference tournament specifically was good preparation because we did do well in ASUN, so we were typically in the tournament playing several games and under that high pressure. I think that prepared us a lot for this season because you kind of don't expect the pressure of if you win you're good, if you lose you're done, but that kind of comes with conference USA like game to game basis. Every game is like a playoff game. Every game, like she was saying, can move you up the rank or down the rank because they're changing so much. So I would say that was one thing. It's just like the conference tournament for ASUN was good preparation for how what to expect from games in the regular season for Conference USA.
I feel like too, it's interesting looking at you guys from the ASUN because I followed you guys even from there too, called games when y'all were in the ASUN. Now in Conference USA, you go up against a team like FIU, who's very technical in the way that they play. And even talking to Coach Cahill in that coach's call, he said that he feels that you guys play better when you go up against teams like that. So how was it having that experience in the ASUN playing more physical ball like how you see a lot of other college teams do nowadays, and then going up against a team like FIU where you play a little bit more technical and you're able to do a little bit more with that?
Yeah, I think that being physical for a lot of the time in the ASUN, like that was kind of the game, the kind of the memo. And I think that we brought a little bit something different to the table in Conference USA. And a lot of those teams they've got a lot of foreign players who the United States women's soccer, it's not, you're not going to get a lot of people that have all these moves in their back pocket and all this technical ability. It's just a little bit different in the United States. So I think that we brought a little bit of that to the table where people weren't used to the competitive energy and the physicalness of the ASUN. So I think that we had kind of that little trick up our sleeves, even though we were forced to play more technical. I think we did well with it, but I think definitely being a more physical team and coming from a conference where sometimes it came down to how physical you can be, how well can you protect the ball in those games, in that conference, to transferring that over. I think teams kind of weren't ready for it because a lot of the teams in Conference USA, you would see a lot of players that came from overseas that are used to in a lot of other countries. Soccer is a much more technical sport, and I think we don't have a ton of people that are from somewhere else. So a lot of us are raised on that United States kind of knit and grit soccer more than keeping the ball, what cool things you can do with it, what passes you can connect. So I think we brought something different to the table, for sure.
Agreed.
Ditto. So I think one thing that I kind of witnessed from you guys and recognized is that you guys played kind of more in unison this season. Like I feel like there was a lot more communication. There was a lot more just like chemistry, I guess, like within the way that you guys play, which I feel like helped a lot. Would y'all say that that's probably true? Or like in what ways did the team chemistry kind of play a role into just like the success of the team all in all?
Do you want to go?
You can start.
Okay. I would say like a lot of these questions are kind of playing into each other. So like to answer that one, I refer back to the last one is we were such a different minded team, and coming into Conference USA, we were almost forced to, if you're not on the same page and you're not one step ahead, like being physical is only going to get you so far. So I think this year, Conference USA and the teams that we faced and the teams that even our scout report was kind of preparing us for, we knew that we would have to play more in unison, be one step ahead, kind of almost be reading each other's minds. I feel like playing more technical does force you to have to think and communicate more. And I think we started to learn that a lot by the end of the season. But, that doesn't come overnight. So I'm proud of the way that we did in the first season there. But I think definitely going forward, like the more that we learn that, the more that we get used to the teams that we're playing, the more that we're able to incorporate a little bit of that technical side that we saw from a lot of other teams, that things will get a lot better for Kennesaw, and they'll be able to take that and kind of run with it. But definitely playing teams like that forces you to adapt in those ways. And I think the communication and the chemistry, like you were saying. We had to find a way to incorporate that in our game.
Yeah. And piggybacking off of that, like I say like the ups and downs, like clearly if you look at our record, like we didn't have the best record, but like going through like all those lows together, like they just caused us to like kind of like all like lock in, and like we all like even outside of like coaches meetings and stuff, like we would try to figure out stuff like together as a team to try to figure out like what's going on the field. Like clearly maybe like in the beginning we weren't completely like synced, but like we kind of figured it out because like we had those like out of like soccer talks like together just to try to figure everything out, which really helped at the end of the day.
So you guys had a lot of freshman faces that played really well this season, just due to the unfortunate story of injury. Because I mean, I don't think anyone thought that y'all would be reaching your third string goalie. That was pretty wild. But you know, Ariana Rosenblum, she came in and she kind of held her own in the goal because she kind of had to. I mean, she was just thrown in there against, oh gosh, Georgia. Right? I think it was. And then Caroline got thrown in at Florida. Those are two top teams that they were just kind of thrown in. And I don't believe Caroline's a freshman, but it's just like these new players are coming in because they're having to be due to all the injury. And there was even, I literally can't remember her name and I'm literally trying to find it, but she scored a goal on senior day when y'all beat FIU.
Either
what is
Alana or AB.
Alana. Yes.
Alana Nesbitt.
Yes.
Alana Nesbitt. Like she came in and she scored her first goal as an Owl. And so it's like you're seeing all these new faces like kind of speak to just like the strength of the freshmen and just strength of like these new kids coming in and playing under such pressures.
Stunning goal from Alana too. Oh,
absolutely.
Beautiful.
I mean, yeah, her specifically, she's always been she is unbelievably fast. It's not even funny. And her on her technical side, it's not that she couldn't do it, it's that she was very unused to it and a little bit nervous. And I think she started working a little bit on the side. I would see her, we're pulling up to go change and do whatever in the locker room, and she would already be out there on the field like practicing shots, doing this and that, and preparing herself for the things that she wasn't as used to. And I think that that's the story for a lot of the freshmen and new faces is in the spring, Coach Chris was just saying, like, these girls are going to come in and challenge y'all. Like, let's prepare now. And I think that they did do a good job of that. I think, you always have people come in, transfers or freshmen, that are going to give you a run for your money. And it not only is good to have those people and have a lot of depth, but it's also good to, push yourself and realize, hey, this ain't last year. I can't be comfortable with how much I played last year or my position last year. It's always a day where you've got to come to practice and give 110%. I think we saw that a lot this year. I don't even know if we had the same starting lineup twice through and through. So it was kind of a push where we've got new faces, but it helps everybody in the sense of we're practicing so much better and we're giving so much more effort because we know that there's so much depth, and just challenging you to constantly be at your best, constantly giving the most effort that you can, and, working towards the games that we were going to be playing that week. So I would say that was one way that no matter if they played or not, or we saw them a lot in practices, they were doing their part, challenging everybody, and making us not get an off day, even though we don't need one. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree with that. And also I think like in practice, like we never looked at like obviously there's like different classes, but like we never really like underestimated one another. Like we always like if we always congratulated each other if we did something good, no matter what, like freshman, sophomore, like all the classes, like so we like made sure like we made sure they had that confidence. So when they like, for example, like when Ari like went in, like obviously she's gonna be nervous, but like we try to like help like keep her head up so she's not as nervous, like so she could perform to her best of ability.
I feel like too, you look at kind of the journey that y'all went on. I honestly say through the spring of this year, you know, Benji Walton, he steps down as the head coach. You guys get brand new head coach with Chris Cahill. When you were under Benji, you guys were playing a little bit more reserved, I would say. Now you come in completely new style. Cahill wants to implement more of like a 4-3-3, more of a high press. That then had to be adjusted a little bit too, especially. I think I remember he told us when we were at that coach's call, he was saying he felt he was a little bit hard headed when he came in initially, thinking that that would be the set way and that you guys couldn't adjust, but then you did, and you adjusted, and then at the end you were playing a lot higher up the field. I think you and Macy in particular were playing very high up the field, getting up there, not afraid to get in. How hard was it to make all of those adjustments, going from spring to then coming into the beginning of the season, starting one way and then towards the end kind of completely doing a 180 and really kind of switching it up a little bit?
Yeah, it was definitely difficult. Like, for example, like you said, like we were doing the 4-3-3, and then I remembered going into like that Georgia game in fall, like we started practicing like a, what was it, like a 3-5. It was a completely like
I think it was like a
unfamiliar
3-5-2 or a 4-4
Yeah.
4-1-3-2 something.
something like that. And like we completely, like we started practicing it maybe like 2 days before the game. So like we didn't necessarily execute perfectly like versus Georgia, but like we just had to like figure it out. Like as the game goes, you kind of figure it out, and the more you play, the more you figure it out. And then we also always like change our formation based off our opponent to try to like make them uncomfortable. So I know we ended up changing our formation against FIU, and look at how great that turned out. Like it just more like practicing and like the experience within the formations to like really get it down.
Yeah, piggybacking off of that, I remember like a couple days before FIU, and Coach Chris had mentioned, I think we're going to try and play a 3-6-1, and we all were kind of like side-eyeing each other like, what is he talking about? I've never even heard of this, and I've been playing soccer, for 18 years. What the heck is a 3-6-1? But then we went out and did what we did against them, and I think having faith in him came with a lot of peace no matter what he threw at us. It's kind of nervous, and there were times when, we're mid-game and me and Tiana are literally having a conversation on the field like, what do you think he wants us to do? And, just having faith in him and having faith in teammates that no matter what we were going to play, we knew we were going to have each other's back. We knew we were going to cover each other's mistakes. We knew we were going to work for each other. So I think that when you get a group of people that are willing to do that for each other, all of the other things that are kind of thrown in the mix, we just figure it out as we can.
Kind of going off of trying to figure out what Chris wanted from you guys, like it was his first year as a head coach, like let alone entering back into Conference USA, because he was at Middle Tennessee. But like what kind of was his like perseverance and just like being able to just, I don't even know how I want to ask this, like how did you guys see him kind of persevere and like still just do so well as a head coach, and like how did the team kind of adjust to going from one coach to another?
I think he had a lot thrown at him this year, and even kind of behind the scenes, like it wasn't a very like, he wouldn't vocalize all these issues. Sometimes he would include like seniors or captains, but I know that there was a lot happening behind the scenes for him, and for us specifically to know at least a glimpse of what he was going through. He never came to practice in a bad mood. I mean, he never, was taking anger out on us. He showed up every single day. And if that's not perseverance, I don't know what is, because there were days when I was not trying to go to practice.
Yeah.
That was the last thing that I wanted to do. But he did it for us. He brought the energy. He did keep us to a high standard, and if we weren't coming and meeting that, then he would let us know. But once he did, whenever we did reach that, or maybe if it's the next drill, it gets clicking and we're all high energy, he always let us know, like, that's what I was looking for. Like, you guys just killed that drill. Let's keep this energy in the next one. He's just very encouraging. He doesn't, just sit there and let you be confused. He might be frustrated, but he's gonna help guide you through it, and he's going to cheer you on when we finally get it. And I think that's one of the ways that I saw him persevere, no matter how frustrated or how angry he was inside. He always was first to correct and not criticize, first to cheer us on and not only be frustrated, first to bring the energy if we were lacking it. Just in some of those ways, he definitely stepped up to the plate, and that makes you as a player want to meet him there.
Yeah, I was gonna say his energy really radiated. No offense to Benji, but Benji, you would go to practice and you could automatically tell he was in a bad mood and just radiates. But with Chris, he Macy said he was never coming angry. No matter what was going on behind the scenes, it just helped you kind of start the practice off wanting to practice versus okay, I need to watch out what I do at practice, which really helped.
Okay, I promise I only have a few more. I'm not trying to keep us here.
Good.
But going back to talking about transfers, one not being this season, but 2 years ago when Jade Barquette came into Kennesaw State and started playing for the Owls soccer team, she came from UCF. What did she bring with her that helped the team? Because she's got a voice. Every time there's a game, we hear her back there. We hear her. I know you guys hear her. She's coming from UCF with the experience that she has, and then automatically she's become this leader with you guys. What was that transition like for y'all, but also just to kind of play off of what skills she had brought in?
I would hear her from the booth as well. We'd be up there calling the game, and I would hear in the mic, I'd be like, that's Jade. And it would be Jade.
Yeah. I feel with Jade coming in, especially from the school she came from, such a big, UCF, such a big school, she already had a standard. So, when she came to practice, she wanted everyone to be at that standard. And if you weren't at that standard, you're going to hear from it. So I feel she really, helped motivate the team. She was always the one, giving the speeches, before practice, before games, after games, she's just someone that really wants to make everyone around them better, and it really showed. And I love that she came even her voice on the field, directing, she was just great on and off the field, really.
Yeah, I would say her coming in soccer wise, the year before that, we didn't have a true center back. Correct me if I'm wrong, Tiana, but both Aaron and Cammie were at one point center forwards.
Yeah.
So having a true center back come in and own that role was very big for us, because in soccer, kind of goalkeepers and center backs, they're that last line of defense that is able to see everything in front of them, and having people be able to lead from back there is very beneficial. But I would also say, not to toot her horn too much, but everything that our team was lacking or needed a little more of, Jade brought to the table. So her personality, the way that she leads, the way that she gives effort, the way that she plays, the way that she is relentless in her calling you to a higher standard, everything that we maybe had a couple people really trying to do that, or we didn't have anybody trying to do this. Both of those things, she brought it, that extra thing we needed here, but she also brought a side that we were lacking here. So that's one thing about her, is just the person that she is and the player that she is and the leader that she is. We both needed a little more of that, and we're completely lacking that. And she brought those things to the table that I don't see our team ever being like it is with Jade without Jade, if that makes sense. I wish she was here. She'd probably be
She'd be balling. I'm just kidding.
Probably.
But no, I couldn't agree more. I just feel like Maddie was saying, anytime we had those natural sounds pushed up in the control room. I mean, that's all we heard. Whether that be in a huddle, like we saw her like talking to you guys during that FIU game. So yeah, I feel like just her presence on the team was really significant to you guys for as long as she was here.
And her command too, I think, not being afraid, because a lot of center backs, obviously, you sit back, you're defending. But I feel like, too, she would get up. She would get forward. She'd be in the box whenever there was an opportunity. She'd be in and then would just run all the way back. And that's, I think that's so
Every
dynamic.
Corner.
Every corner just
demanded at least 100-yard sprint from Jade, but she was still there.
Gosh, I mean, especially too up against some of these Conference USA opponents. I mean, the second that ball gets thrown into a corner and it gets right to back, they're gone, sprinting all the way back to the other end. So to have a center back who's so dynamic and able to do a mix of both and isn't afraid, I think, to get in the middle of certain things and to create some fouls, create some opportunities to break forward. And I think that's what Jade brought as well. Just, I think from a soccer standpoint, but then also too, I think from what you were saying too, a motivational standpoint, it was like, oh, like she just ran all the way from one end to the other end and now she's back defending. It's like, oh, it's like, okay, gotta get everything going for me, and that way I can go back and help when I need to.
Yeah, she sells out in every moment, whether it's she's the last defender or she sees an opportunity to dribble up the field. No matter what she's doing, she's going to give 110%, and she's going to completely sell out for us. And that type of person makes you want to do that in turn. And then that in turn gets another person, and it just eventually you've got 11 people on the field who are going to actually sacrifice themselves for each other. And that starts with having her as a leader, kind of being the example for that. Just, if I'm going to sell out and y'all are going to watch me put my body on the line to, block a shot or make a slide tackle, it inspires you to do it too. And that's something too, like you were talking about from the soccer standpoint, that she inspires in other people.
Yeah. That's probably why we had so many damn yellow cards this year, because we were just selling out for everyone on the field.
Literally.
I love that. So obviously the season didn't quite end like you guys were hoping. It kind of came and ended shorter than I think all of y'all were expecting. So like, how did y'all kind of navigate from that last game emotionally, just from like, you guys are seniors, you're about to graduate, like what are the next steps for you guys? You probably have a lot of time on your hands, but just like from that last game, like biggest takeaways, even though like you're not really taking them into next season per se, just like what's next for you guys, and how did you all handle like the end of the season so abruptly?
Yeah, at least the last game, like I definitely like was super sad and all that, but like it was kind of like an end of a chapter, so it was kind of like it's my time's done. Like obviously it's very sad, but like at the end of the day, it's like it's a new beginning. So like I like went like on, and like now I'm like focusing mainly on like school. I'm in my master's program, so now I just have something else to look forward to. I'm hopefully soccer's not done completely, maybe for at the college level, but like now I could look ahead versus like focusing just on soccer itself, like in college.
I think we went through a lot of stuff this season that prepared me to be like, okay, I'm very, very, very sad right now, and I don't want soccer to end, but like all of the stuff that comes along with it, like I'm okay to put that to rest. And like she was saying, start a new beginning. So as scary as it is to be like, everybody's asking you, so do you have a job lined up? I'm like, nope, sure don't. Don't have a clue, actually. But I think my biggest takeaway, I think that's one of the questions you asked, was it was very, very, very sad, but it was also very beautiful in the sense of I was sad and I was crying, but I sat, as soon as the whistle blew, I just sat down where I was. And I don't even think my first tear had formed by the time that people were surrounding me. And I didn't cry tears alone. I didn't feel sad alone. And each person that spoke when we kind of came together as a team, we shared those emotions with each other, and we carried each other through that, and we were sad together, and we mourned the season together, and doing it alone just already makes such is hard, and not doing it alone makes such a big difference. So
Mhm.
that was one of my big takeaways, was no matter how sad I was, I had other people that were there with me. I had other people that were kind of at that rock bottom, I can't stop crying with me. I had people that were encouraging. I had people that wanted to wish the best. I had people like our assistant coach, Coach Danny, who was, you guys are my family. Like, my family's in Texas and we're always on the road. Like, that's you guys, and I just want to thank you. And like, people just kind of putting their heart out there. You don't get to see that a lot throughout the season. So those last games, as sad as they are, and as sad as it is to kind of put a line on the end of that timeline, um, it's also very, very, very awesome to see when people get to those raw emotions and just confessing, like, this is what you guys mean to me, and you share the same way, and you're all just in it together. That's
Mhm.
a big thing. But as far as what's next, I'm not sure. But as I look back, I see no matter what's next, I've got people cheering me on. I've got people that will help me get there. I've got people that are in my corner. So that's a big takeaway too, is just not knowing for sure what's next is okay, because I know I've got people that will help me in whatever way they can and cheer me on no matter what. So
Mhm.
Yeah, listen, it's been so much fun getting to call games for all of you guys this season. I mean, truly. I think honestly, probably the most fun I've had in calling some of these games ever. I mean, I remember that FIU game. That was insane.
never forget it.
Oh, I mean, truly, I mean, Mateen screaming for Annabelle's goal is just pure gold. I mean, I think I fell to the floor. I even asked, I was like, do we have like the recording of me and Mateen losing our minds in the booth? And they're like, unfortunately, no. And I was like, dang it. It was just it's been fun, y'all, and y'all made it easy. So absolutely.
Okay, Maddie, you got anything else?
I think I'm good.
Okay. Tiana, Macy, do you guys want to add anything else just to kind of wrap up the season? Anything like that?
No, but thank you for this time. It's always fun to recap and look back and smile and think about FIU and think about all these things that just remind you why it's all worth it, and remind you even now when I'm like, dude, why do I literally have every day is open for me?
Yeah.
It's fun to look back and remember those things and kind of inspire you to bring all that you learned and all that you experienced and all that you did as a player and bring that into your life outside of playing. So
Mhm.
I'm kind of glad. I'm glad we did this.
Yeah, it's good to like reflect and like at least I've identified myself as a student athlete for 5 years, and now I'm just an athlete. I mean, I'm just a student. So like it's just good to like look back on the memories we created over, at least me, for 5 years, Macy for 4. Just great to just reflect and really like take in everything.
Well, I'm really excited that we got to talk with you guys today, and we're thankful to Maddie for hopping on with us and just talking from that perspective of calling games and just watching you guys play and interact with each other on the pitch for the whole season. And thank you all for just kind of tying the knot on the season.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
That wraps up this episode of The Nest. Stay tuned for next week as we will be discussing the season with head coach Chris Cahill. This will be very exciting as this was his first season as a head coach and his first season as a head coach in Conference USA. My name is Caroline Harris, and be sure to stay tuned for next week's episode of The Nest.